Welcome back, everyone. This morning, the House is going to be wrapping up its debate and vote on this much-anticipated Jobs Act. Joining us right now with more on this is Representative Scott Garrett, the chairman of the Capital Markets Subcommittee. Also, Representative Maxine Waters, the ranking member of the subcommittee. And Representatives, welcome to both of you this morning. Representative Garrett, why don't you start off and talk a little bit about what's in this Jobs Act and what you hope it will accomplish?
Okay, so the bill that we started yesterday and hopefully we'll finish today is essentially a bipartisan piece of legislation. It's the Jobs Act, jumpstart our business sector now. Has a number of pieces to it. In essence, what it does is to try to help that startup company to be able to grow to the point that they need to and then go public. Right now, it is extremely burdensome for a company to get over that leap, if you will, over that edge of becoming from a private company to a public company, because there are so many regulations in place. And all you have to do is look at the statistics. I'll close on this and saying that a few years ago you had almost 600 companies doing IPOs every year. Then it dropped down to well under 200. That's all because of regulations and impediments, what have you. We tried to get together on this to see how can we do it in a way to encourage these companies to go public, which creates more jobs, hence the Jobs Act.
All right. Representative Waters, this is something that the White House has said has some real opportunity. They've also gotten Steve Case to sign off on it. Mr. Case, of course, is the former AOL founder who is now heading up a panel for the president. What do you think about this plan?
Well, I think it's good. As you know, it's bipartisan. There are some things that worry me a bit, and I tried to make an amendment or so in order to make sure that we could protect our investors. But the whole idea of job creation and capital formation is something we're all focused on. We want to create jobs. We want to stimulate this economy. And so the bills include crowdfunding and ways that IPOs can start up without certain regulations, just registering with the SEC. These are ideas that we've all decided to move forward with, even if we have a few reservations about them. And I hope the Senate will join with us and help to close a few of the loopholes, like I've been focused on making sure that there is the proper separation for research with the IPO startups and from those who are underwriting for the IPO. So I think that we've come together around some good ideas, and I think it will help this economy. I think it's a good bipartisan effort.
Let me ask you this. Is this the beginning of a new era in Washington where there's going to be lots of bipartisan activity coming out? Representative Waters?
Well, actually, there are a few of us who work quite well together. It's not always as contentious as the press would have you believe. We'll be able to accomplish more if we can come together around these kinds of ideas. And because we're all so focused on job creation and assistance to small business, this is an area that I think we can work better together on.
Okay, what are some of the other areas that you think that there are some real seeds? Actually, I'd like to hear from both of you on this.
Well, don't forget, we just came together around the payroll tax exemption.
After a lot of prodding and a lot of waiting.
Yes, it was, but we did it.
Congressman Garrett?
Well, first of all, within our committee and our subcommittee, I think we work fairly well together. We're 14 months into this term right now, and we moved a number of different bills that we've had general agreement on. As Maxine says, there's some areas around the edge that you're not going to have unanimous consent on, but we're able to move those bills through the subcommittee, through the full committee, and go on further. I guess the bigger area that we'll need to address in general going forward is on the outside the financial services side, is on the budgetary issues and that sort of thing. Payroll tax is one that did get through in a bipartisan manner over some of our objection, but the bigger issue that we'll have to deal with is how do we come to grips with the debt that this country is facing and long term. Yep.
Can I follow up on that? You know,
Sure.
Simpson-Bowles was a bipartisan package. It had people who were liberal, people who were progressive, people who were conservative signed on who were part of the commission. You wanted to serve on the commission.
Okay.
Is there any chance Maxine and yourself could come together and support the commission proposals and get that moving again so we can get something done on the deficit?
Well, actually, you're talking about a huge effort.
Yeah.
There's so much involved in that. Until that's not easy. That's very complicated. If you take a look at Simpson-Bowles, you will find that some of us agree with some of those things, some disagree with some of those things. You really do have to work at a comprehensive response to something like that. So it's not ever going to be just signed off automatically by either side.
But isn't that the point? I mean, if it went to a congressional vote, at least an up-down vote, There's going to be something in it that irritates everybody, because the only way you find something that is truly moving across both party lines and trying to actually address a very difficult problem is to probably tick off just about everybody involved.
Well, of course that happens, and as you know, when I talk about how huge this is, you're talking about undoing some real safety net programs that people have depended on, and we have to figure out, what do we do about that? How do we offer some measure of protection to the least of these who have had something to look forward to for a long time, and just get rid of it and move on to something else? And that's not easy.
You two have been getting closer as the interview. This is working. At first I thought, Scott, I didn't think you took a shower today or something. I mean, you guys were you had cooties or something. But in the Journal today, Representative Waters, it talks about now small is beautiful. This is the best we can hope for in this politically charged environment. But then the Journal, as you can imagine, does take a shot at the end that there's literally dozens of bills in the Senate that House Republicans have passed that would do a lot of these similar things, but they're all stonewalled because they don't include tax increases. Is that part of the problem too? I'd like an answer from either Maxine or Scott.
I'll just chime in there first. I think that is part of the problem. That goes back to the your first question on this, and you saw this actually in the super committee, right? Because the super committee tried to address these issues, and the Republicans on that committee actually went beyond anybody's anticipation on this and said, okay, Republicans in the super committee at least, were willing to concede on the issue of taxes to the tune of $250 or $350 billion if we get the level, and try to reach an accommodation over in the Senate, and the Senate would not be agreeable. The Senate failed to even come to the table, if you will, on the issue of entitlements and what have you. The super committee was saying, we'll give on this hand if you would help out on here, and they never came out with any specific plan on entitlements, which is what we ultimately need to do in order to get our fiscal house in order, or ultimately need to do in order to get to a balanced budget someday, hopefully sooner rather than later.
Any comments, Congressman Waters, or Congresswoman Waters, I'm sorry?
Well, as we're talking about this, I'm really thinking about what can we do now to create jobs. This transportation bill is very important. We need to get that transportation bill up and out. It will create millions of jobs. And we've never had this kind of problem before. Always, you know, some difficulty, but we come together and we make sure that we take care of our highways and our byways, and we want the transportation bill. And if you take a look at what's in the president's jobs bill, you will see that there's some real opportunities to create jobs dealing with the infrastructure, repairing our schools, constructing new schools and the highways, etc. So we have to keep moving to see if there's anything we should come together on. It is these real ideas about how to create jobs. Yes, they can say this is small, but this is an effort, and I'm very pleased to be a part of it. And as you heard Steny Hoyer say on the floor yesterday, when some people complained about, well, we've heard these bills before, he said there's nothing wrong with the second time around. So we're trying to do job creation and assistance to small business. They've got to have the capital. Capital formation is extremely important. And, you know, I think we should be given a little credit for this.
All right, Representatives Waters and Garrett, thank you both very much for joining us.
Good to be with you. Thank you.
You too.
All right, coming up.